Yes, yes, people. It is day 20 of the Brew Crew podcast, Barrel House Advent Calendar 2024. Day 20. It's almost the finish line. It's a sad day that comes, but it's been a great Advent Calendar season so far. And wow, just the number of crazy good beers we've had has been unbelievable. And this day 20 promises to perhaps not surprise us necessarily, since the last 3 days have been unbelievable. But it surprises, it promises to continue the trend. Let's just say that. Today's beverage is part of a twofer, part of a two-peat, as it were. It's the first part of it from a brewery called Phase 3. Yes, that's right. Tomorrow is a Phase 3 too. Very different beer though, but from the same brewer. So we'll get a chance to taste a little bit of a horizontal tasting, if you were, as it will. Anyway, this particular brew here is the Phase 3 Bonfire Fields. It's an amber ale. We don't get a lot of amber ales on the Advent calendar, but actually it's the perfect time of year for an amber ale. Why, SFIL? Because the amber ale or red ale, these ales are typified by fall harvest festival types of brewing. So a little heartier, a little more depth of character, a little darker color, obviously. Typically a straight up ale. They don't do too much to trick these up or add any adjuncts or fruit in them or anything crazy or weird like that. But an amber ale is a very good drink, very classic drink. It's kind of a sister or cousin to the pale ale, but with just a little bit more malt. The malt in this one is interesting. It's crystal malts, which are great. Crystal malts are awesome. It's not caramel malts though, so it gets its color elsewhere. Crystal malts too can provide that kind of amber color, beefy color. This is a 6.8% beer, so it is definitely higher octane than a typical ale that we might taste. It's kind of a halfway point between a regular, where you're looking at probably 5 to 6 points for a regular brewed beer or ale. But then a double ale would typically be in the 7 to 8% range. Well, this is 6.8, so it's right there. So I think they probably used a lot of additional crystal malt to give it that extra sweetness, the maltiness and sweetness. Crystal malt's great. Haven't really talked about crystal malt too much. I'm going to pop this thing while I'm gabbing away here so we can let it start to breathe and smell it and look at it and taste it. Yes. Yes, people. Here we go. And away we go. I just love that color. Now see that color there, it's a hearty color. That is a deep amber ale. It's almost a brown ale. Isn't that exciting? Not much to speak about on the can art except for something. It's basically a fire, a bonfire, and the fire is really huge. And it's a black background. That's all. I don't know. Can art's can art, with the exception of Gush Your Mouth, which was exceptional can art. I can take and leave can art. When it's good, it's fun. I like it. Kind of adds to the experience. Doesn't add to the taste or the flavor, of course, at all. But there you go. So on the can, it says the brewer's notes are biscuit and pine. Okay, well, we'll see about that. Oh, I can smell some biscuit and some pine. Oh, yeah. It's got some citrus in there, too, for sure. So, yeah, and I know why that is, because I know what kind of hops they used. Hops, we're back on the hops trail, right? We're away from sours, we're away from smoothies. That means hops rules. So what kind of hops did they use in this? They used Centennial hops and Chinook hops, which contribute pine esters and contribute citrus esters most of the time. Very common. And then of course, the biscuit is from the breadiness from the yeast and also from some of the malt character. Mm. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good ale. That's a pretty good amber ale. Yeah, we don't get too many amber ales. We did have an amber ale. What was it like? Um, it was really interesting. It was really interesting. It was hmm, I don't know, a couple days ago anyway. But I think my comment at the time was, you know, it's quite possibly or probably the best example of an amber ale that I've tasted. It was very unique, etc. So I think I enjoyed that one very much. I'm enjoying this one as well. Mm, mm. Yeah, look at that darkness, that dark amber. I love that. That's such a great color. That's, when I was a brewer, that's what I strived for. I strived for that color, a little bit lighter maybe, a truly red color, like a red amber color. It'd be a little bit lighter than this. But, that's just, I don't know why, but the color was so appealing to me. I always just really strove for that color. So I added lots of crystal and caramel malts to it to kind of get that color. But mm, that's what I'm tasting. A lot of real amber ales, typically real nice because of the crystal malt in there. Really nice maltiness, really nice sweet maltiness you're getting. Pretty balanced. It flows very well over the palate. It stays with you. A moderate amount of time, not a super long finish, but a moderate amount of time. There's you can definitely taste the Centennial hops in there. It's got a bit of a pine kick, and the Chinooks. There's that citrus kick too, right in the back, right in the finish. So all doing their thing and all not out of balance. So it's not super hoppy like a pale ale or even certainly not an IPA. The hops sit down in the brew purposely to kind of not take away from the amber ale, the quality of the malt, which is really good quality. I love crystal malt. You can't do wrong with. You brew a beer with crystal malt, and you're going to come out with a winner. It's just hard to mess it up. It's really great, easy to handle, easy to use. It has this great maltiness to it for those who are hopheads. I always preferred the ales over or over the lagers. So lagers are just a little tougher to make because you got to lager it, which is like in the secondary fermentation, you got to chill the crap out of it, and you got to make sure it goes slow, and the timing's got to be just right. It's just a little bit more finicky and precise the way you've got to, the way you've got to lager it. I don't know. It's really probably not all that different. You just got to make sure that you're in a temperature controlled cellar or refrigerator or cooler. That's not too cold, but not too warm, obviously. I just found it, and for what you get back with a lager, there's a lot of similarity between all the different lagers, and I know there's a great many more variations now of lagers than there used to be. Certainly that's true with ales also, but I just enjoyed ales better. I think there's more flavor to an ale. There just seems to be to me, and you can do a lot of different things with them to really kind of pull some flavors out that you want. Once you're into the hobby, into the craft. Anyway, back to this one. Very nice beer, very nice amber ale. Mm. Phase 3 touts this as a post festival season beer, which means a post Oktoberfest. Let's face it. There's only one festival in the fall. What would that be? Oktoberfest for beer makers and beer drinkers. And it's darker than an Oktoberfest by a long shot. And Oktoberfest is typically a lager also. Not a lot of people know that because it's sort of red amber, and you drink it and it's got some, ale characteristics because got a little bit more fuller, richer flavor to it. But it's not. It's actually a lager. So I like this beer a lot, and I see why they call it a post-festival season, Oktoberfest season, because really the season for drinking darker beers, is the late fall and the winter time when it's getting colder out and a little chilly outside. That's when we turn naturally to a darker beer. And so it's perfect. This is the perfect timing for this. We couldn't have timed it better. December 20th, and we're drinking this beautiful, beautiful dark amber ale from Phase 3. I'm liking this beer a lot. It's, it doesn't have the pop or the gee whiz factor or the wow factor of a sour like that we had last night, or a slushy or a smoothie, or some of the other stuff we've had. But there's still room in the palate. This goes for you, John, and Matt too. There's still room for a great, and I know you guys get this because I've seen you guys rate beers highly. Like I don't think JT particularly loves IPAs. He'd rather be drinking something else, is what I mean. But when he finds a good IPA, he loves it. He lauds it, and he gave one a 5.0 the other night. Same here. Sometimes a style is great, and when it's done well, like that one we had the other night, the IPA was so well balanced. Oh my gosh, it's hard to think of another IPA that was a better balanced IPA than that. And balanced doesn't mean a bad thing. Balanced is great. Balance is great. That means for style, you're getting the whole package. You're able to taste the whole package because nothing sticks out and blocks anything out or smothers any other flavor. And that's when you're going to be able to start tasting lots of subtleties coming out of the beer all the way across the palate. So really important. You keep tasting it all the way down after you've swallowed it, because sometimes we just kind of discard it in our mind. I think our mind just kind of puts it out of our mind. We're ready for the next sip, right? It's important to go slow, and after you swallow it, let it linger for 5-10 seconds, and maybe even close your eyes. Sometimes I do. Just close my eyes and I concentrate on what am I tasting there and smelling. You'll get aromas from back here because it'll trickle up through, your membranes, and it'll hit the olfactory nerves up here, and you'll actually get some after effects of the aroma, and between that and what's lingering in the palate that you're tasting in the back of your finish, of the finish there, you're going to taste more stuff. There's more stuff in this beer, right? Besides just the things that I talked about. You've got to discover those things. Everybody's taste buds are different too, because the way our taste buds evolve are the things that we were trained on when we're kids, right? And as we're growing up, this flavor tastes like that. This flavor tastes like that, etc. That's how your brain gets wired, and then your brain gets trained like an AI engine. It just gets trained to, over time, the larger and larger the language model is, or the database is, the more experiences you have, etc. They shape and train your brain, and what you think your understanding is of a certain flavor or taste is shaped by that. So the way you taste strawberries, for example, may be entirely different than someone else, and the intensity at which you taste certain things will certainly be different than somebody else's. So I remember this vividly. A great evidentiary example of this is during COVID, when everyone lost their taste of taste, their sense of taste. Remember that? And often their taste of smell. I haven't even been drinking tonight. Their sense of smell, because smell has so much to do with taste, right? So a lot of that kind of went hand in hand during COVID. And some people took a long time to get that back. My wife, for example, I got my taste and smell back on day 9, I think it was. So, I was pretty much just finishing up with the COVID, coming back, and I started tasting again, etc. My wife was not so lucky. She lost her sense of smell and taste, and it was very slow in coming back, and came back over a long, drawn out period of time, 8, 9 months probably. And to this day, there are things that she tastes, like strawberries that she used to love, that taste like tin or metal, weird things. And it's just, I'm not sure anybody's figured out exactly why that's happened, but whatever it is, what's happened is the COVID affected the brain centers that actually interpret what the nerves are saying, and interpret that into assign that to a specific flavor, and a certain taste. So what you knew of your whole entire life, 40 years plus of your life, as, hey, this tastes like strawberries, suddenly now tastes like metal. That's really weird. It's disappointing and frustrating for people who really love those tastes. And I know several people that have had the same things. Bananas are another thing on their fruits typically. Bananas, strawberries, different types of berries, just weird things, out of the blue, a certain flavor, onions, or, whatever it might be. So it's just a matter of your brain getting cross-wired, or your brain no longer receiving the same signal that it once did from the nerves that tells it, oh yeah, that pattern of signals. It's like language, right? When you hear someone speak, you're hearing a whole sequence of complex auditory sounds that are coming at different frequencies like this, or different frequencies like this, and said softly, said loudly, with certain other sounds that are plosives, like S's and P's and T's, and the combination, different sounds that we make. They're all sounds, auditory sounds, strung together in a certain pattern that creates a certain pattern or wavelength that once we hear it over and over and over again, and our parents teach us this, our teachers teach us this, that means pen, that means glass, that means water, all those sorts of things, right? So we get into that's what our brain is. It's a pattern recognition engine. So it's the same for taste, right? We taste a certain way, and we have a pattern recognition engine, and that engine's going to taste all kinds of things. It's going to discover new things, and you're going to tell your brain, oh wow, I've never tasted a parsnip and a pomegranate together, right? That's what that tastes like. And so the next time your brain's going to go, I remember what he told me. He told me that that's what a parsnip and a pomegranate tastes like together, right? So, and then, it'll start reinforcing itself the more and more you experience that same thing. So, so I just recommend, that's why I'm never critical about necessarily having somebody that disagrees with me about the way something tastes, because you just can't do that. They're tasting something in a very different way than you are. They may be tasting it differently as well, if that makes sense. And just the example I gave of COVID, with people losing their sense of taste, and when it finally comes back, it tastes like something radically different than they've never tasted before. They have to kind of retrain their brain. That's what's going on. And so as a result of that, people develop different preferences for different tastes and different flavors. And that goes true for any kind of food, really. But for beer, that's why people I'm leaning towards wheat beers, because I love the taste of Hefeweizen. I'm leaning towards stouts, because I love that deeper, darker, richer, sweeter, malty, thicker kind of texture flavor, where you get that chocolate in there and you get that coffee in there. I love those flavors, and other people like IPAs. And so that's what's beautiful about it. And so that's why when you're evaluating it, you've really got to give yourself a full chance to let it when you're tasting it, to let it go all the way over and through and beyond your palate, and then let it set after you swallowed it. Think about what you're tasting, because there's still stuff going on. There's still stuff you're going to taste long after that. So that's part of the fun and part of the beauty of this. We're constantly learning. I've learned so much this advent calendar already. Certainly about the way I felt about sours. It's radically changed. That's taken some time, of course, but the point of me even being able to drink a sour, it kind of led me up to this point. And then this season has been amazing with some of the sours, like the one we had last night, has meant. So all those things put together and packaged, I'm going to bring it all the way back to this beautiful, beautiful dark amber ale here from Phase 3. It's a gorgeous looking beer. It's a great tasting beer. It's got just everything. If you're an ale lover, it's got everything you want in an ale, especially an amber ale, kind of late harvest, late season ale like this. Heading into winter, it's the perfect time of year, as I said, for this kind of a beer. It's a little heavier, but not too heavy. So if you don't like stouts because they're too heavy, or porters because they're too heavy, this might be a perfect beer for you, especially this time of year. It's got that sweet maltiness that actually kind of spans the bridge of both worlds. You get that from the pale ale, but not the hops of the pale ale or the IPA. You get the sweet maltiness with a lot more subtle hops, which opens up the palate to be able to taste all that great malty goodness. So there you have it. That's about, I'm just stalling because I'm trying to think about what I'm going to score this darn thing. Wow. I've had 2 5s and a 4.75 in the last 3 days, and I'm leaning high on this one because it's such a great example of an amber ale. I can't imagine brewing one of these myself and making it any better. This is just a really great example of an amber ale. Like I said, we don't get many of these on the podcast, on the Advent calendar. There's always some, you go to a place like Barrel House or what have you, there's always an amber ale sort of on the menu somewhere, but there won't be 8 of them like there are IPAs, or 5 or 6 stouts, for example, like you always see. It's definitely not as common or as popular anymore because tastes have shifted and the generations have shifted with that. So, but I still love them. It's really great. I'm going to score this I got to go high on this. Wow. That's just so good. That is just so good. I got to give it a 5.0. I can't believe I'm doing it. I've given out more 5.0s this year than I ever have. That's my 4th one this year. And I'm doing it, I'll explain myself a little bit. It's not the best beer I've tasted this Advent calendar season. It is certainly the best amber ale I've tasted, I think. And it's just so well balanced and put together. I can't really see how you could make an amber ale much better than this. So that's my score. Another 5.0 from me. That's day 20. It's in the can. Love you guys. It's been great hanging out with you. Thanks for joining me if you're watching today. And look forward to tomorrow. Saturday is the 21st, the 21st day of Advent. And we only have 4 more days left on the Advent calendar. So looking forward. I know what these last 4 days are. I remember when I was sequencing them, what's in store for us. And we got some really fun, great beers ahead of us. So next 4 days are going to be fun. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. Hope everyone's Christmas shopping is done. I'd hate to be out there right now battling that craziness. But if you are, stop somewhere, grab a beer, chill out, and then go back to it. I think your attitude will be changed. I hope so anyway. All right, see you all tomorrow. Good night. Have a great night. And that's all for me today. Later.